Black Scully on check. Got a little black tea on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. We are at episode, I think this is episode 79 already. Time's flying by and it's fun. College football season officially underway. Some of these networks broke ratings records this past week. So, shout out to college football, man. It's feeding communities. But on today's docket, we're going to get into the news segment. Dan Lannon breaks down how he thought Dante Moore performed in his first, debut game as the starting quarterback for the Oregon Ducks a week ago. Also, I say a week ago, but it's really like 5 days ago. Also, TV week one ratings are in. Some games broke some records, so we'll go into the top 10 list of ratings from these games this past weekend. There were some surprises there, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that. Also, Cade Klubnik is still hurt about the Clemson loss, as he should be, because they had opportunities to make plays. In my opinion, it was just a lack of adjustments. Like I've gotten on Dave Aranda. I probably should have got on Garrett Riley a little bit more about the lack of adjustments made in that game. Outstanding adjustments made by LSU in that defense. The offense also made some adjustments, but to me, the adjustments that the defense made, they decided, hey, we're going to man it up. We're going to keep a spy on Klubnik. And it truly made Klubnik uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't have the secondary or the players up front, to create pressure to make him roll the pocket or, try to run to the outside. And they also don't have the versatility that they have at the second level in Clemson, in LSU as well, with, with Weeks, the other Weeks in Harold Perkins. So shout out to LSU. That was a huge victory. It really was. And I like the attention to detail, like them coming out with the 1-0 shirts. It meant a lot for them to come here win week one. Now they got to continue it. I need to see it for the rest of the season for LSU. Lane Kiffin, bro. There's not too many people I enjoy in this college football spectrum more than Lane Kiffin, because that dude is hilarious and he's cracking jokes on Zach Calzada. I always like to say, man, don't give teams, and the way he did it, it was like a compliment sandwich. He complimented them, but sneak dissed them at the same time, to be honest with y'all. But, that's hilarious. We're going to talk about that. And then Lou Holtz. We need to preserve Lou Holtz as much as possible because he's always going in on Ryan Day, bro. Ryan Day just came off of a national championship. Ryan Day and his team just came off a big victory versus Texas, where a lot of media personalities, including myself, thought that Texas would go in and win that game. And the fact that they didn't, Ryan Day's probably comfortable right now, winning 14-7. But Lou Holtz ain't letting down on Ohio State anytime soon. He ain't letting down on Ryan Day anytime soon either. So definitely happy to see that. I'm happy we here in this moment in time with college football, and we need to preserve Lou Holtz. He must be protected at all costs. He really needs to be. And Kirk Ferentz is in closing on history this upcoming weekend. This weekend will make him, the all-time winningest coach in the conference history. And I've talked about the disrespect that I feel like Kirk Ferentz gets. It did get off to a rocky start, his tenure there in Iowa City, but it's been magical lately. And they've been a staple, 8-1 team, during this, most of his time there. So the fact that he's chasing history, the fact that he's been there so long and he's been a staple there so long, you really got to give Kirk Ferentz, more respect. I think we all do. And then for our Governor React segment, we're going to dive into CBS Sports. They did their top 25 quarterbacks after week one. There are some surprises in there. Who's ranked too high, who's underrated, and who's truly looked like a difference maker. So we're going to talk about all of those quarterbacks in great detail, and also some quarterbacks that are not on the list. You guys know how I like to do it. And for Governor ruling, we're going to look at this AP top 25. I'm going to always cover CFB Nation top 25 first. Then we'll get to AP poll and kind of compare and contrast. And like I like to tell everybody, because our poll has been getting mixed reviews on various social platforms, whether it's Reddit or YouTube, the community posts, which we have the best community posts in all of college football, with College Football Nation, CFB Nation, whatever you want to call it. And I was telling the fellas, like, hey, we've made it. That's what's supposed to happen. People are supposed to feel a way about a poll, but the things I know about the people that we poll week in, week out, there are people who truly care about the sport. There are people who opinion won't be moved. All of us here at CFP Nation, we stick to our takes, and we will argue about our takes through and through. And I think our poll, when you look at it week in and week out, will be more correct than other polls. And the reason I believe that is because 1 week of college football ain't gonna move us the way it moves everybody else. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is what it is. We like to say, okay, you got more games left on your schedule. As we get to the middle part of the season, then we'll start figuring out where teams really are. But there's a lot of games left. Even after this week, there's a lot of games left. It will figure itself out. I promise you that. It will definitely figure itself out. And then for Around the Nation, we're going to look at, we're going to spotlight an old Southwest Conference showdown, Baylor Bears versus SMU. I'm super excited about this game. I think you guys know where I'm at with Baylor this year. And it's an interesting matchup. I told you guys yesterday that the Director Ranks team is SMU. And why I do root for the local teams. I think if there is a team out there, I probably have even added more rooting interest in because of how high I was on them in the offseason. Baylor is that team 100%. So this is an old Southwest Classic. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that Baylor needs this game. This is a must-win game on Baylor. This is absolutely a must-win game. And hopefully the changes that they needed to make was made because they just allow one dual-threat quarterback, Jackson Arnold, to go crazy to get him. And guess who's coming to town? Well, they're going to his town. Not too far apart, though. Kevin Jennings, who's dynamic as a rusher as well. So we're going to get into it, man. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great defensive
on
minds.
that.
They have to be better on that side of the ball. Alrighty, this Into the News segment is brought to you by the good folks over at Bull Rush. Make sure you guys check them out at bullrush.com. So let's get to our Into the News segment. Dan Lanning breaks down Dante Moore's debut at Oregon. Dante Moore has officially begun in Eugene. The Ducks hammered Montana State 50-13, and Moore looked the part, 213 yards, 3 touchdowns in his first start. Dan Lanning praised his poise, progression reads, and ball security, calling it a glimpse of what's to come. Oregon now, gears up for Oklahoma State, even though they're a 28.5-point favorite. And I don't know what's going on with Oklahoma State coach Gundy and Dan Lanning, but they don't seem to care for each other too much. And I think I don't know if this is always a thing, and I know Coach Gundy is coaching for his job this year. I know a lot of people don't want to believe that because he's been such he's been there for so long in Stillwater. You don't want to believe he's on the hot seat. After all of the winning that he's done, he had a bad year last year, but they need to win this year. They need to win. They need to be back at bowl eligibility this year. And I believe that 100%. So being 28.5 points favorite versus another P4 school is scary. That tells you how good your program is, and it tells you how bad the other program is. So that'll be a game I'm not paying a lot of attention to, but I would like to see the outcome. And so our second news story of the day, Week 1 TV rating set of records. Texas versus Ohio State drew 16.6 million viewers on Fox, the most watched Week 1 game ever. Notre Dame versus Miami, Alabama versus Florida State, and LSU versus Clemson also cracked double-digit millions. You guys know I was most excited about LSU Clemson. I think the Alabama-Florida State was just one of those things where, okay, we're going to watch this at the 3:30 slate, see how good Alabama looks, because they should dominate Florida State, right? We were wrong. And then the more you watch, the more you're intrigued, like, okay, what's going on here at Alabama, right? So that Week 1 slate was absolutely incredible, and it makes you think that this Week 2 slate is mid, but it isn't mid at all. There's some really good games this week. There really is. And, one of them we're going to talk about later. We talked about one yesterday. That Illinois at Duke game is going to be really good. And then this old Southwest Conference game between Baylor and SMU is going to be really good as well. But, yeah, I mean, for them to set ratings, I think this is important. Now, how will the ratings be impacted now that the NFL is back? Because keep in mind that, the first 3 weeks of the season is Week 0, Week 1, and Week 2, but it's really just Week 1 and Week 2. You're kind of auditioning for NFL fans, because a lot of NFL fans believe that college football is bad. They believe it's terrible. That's why I went at the guy who said the NFL, he said anybody who says college football over NFL, that's a casual take. I forgot the verbiage, and that's why I'm like, are you stupid? I will watch college football over NFL any day of the week. I have Amazon Prime. I can't tell you how many Thursday games I watched. I think if the Bills were on, I watched it. But other than that, I would prefer the Fun Belt. I would prefer Mac Action. I would prefer watching USA weekday games over watching NFL. It is what it is. So that's where I want to see what's the correlation between the two. Because, even the college football playoff, even though some of the games ended up in routes, especially during the first round of the playoff, the ratings were still outstanding. So the sport is growing. I think it's Joe Klatt who always say he believes we're on the dawn of the golden era of college football. I agree with him. Now, there's a lot of semantics we got to figure out on the back end. The offseason is a three-ring circus. We can all put clowns on because that's exactly what it is. That's what college football offseason is. So we do need some form of commission or some type of rules or regulations where everybody's going to be held to the same standard, because right now everybody isn't being held to the same standard. And facts are facts. But the fact, college football is evergreen, bro. The fact that, week 1, we had so many outstanding ratings and 16.6 million viewers for that showdown, and I didn't even think that was the best game of the week. And the game I thought was the best game of the week disappointed, and that was LSU and Clemson. Really good game, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't the fireworks that I expected. But 2 outstanding defense, 2 quarterbacks that are going to be juggernauts. And speaking of which, let's segue into our next news story. Cade Klubnik, he said, it took me a few days after LSU lost. It should. As fans, don't it take us a few days to get over a loss? You think down in Tuscaloosa they're over that Florida State loss yet? As a Bills fan, and I'm probably the only Bills fan that most people know. Now, that has changed recently because the Bills have had success. But I was a Bills fan when we were terrible, when J.P. Losman was our quarterback, or when Trent Edwards was our quarterback, or when Ryan Fitzmagic made us believe we was going to the playoffs. But no, I was a fan when Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback, right? And I was a fan when Todd Collins was our quarterback. Like, I've been a Bills fan for a very long time. I was a fan when they decided to start, I forgot his name, Rob Johnson over Doug Flutie. That's how long I've been a Bills fan. I've been a Bills fan for a very long time. I really have. And I always tell people, hey, after loss, don't talk to me about football, NFL till Wednesday. College football is one of those things I'm going to talk about every day regardless. And I've always been like that since I was a kid. Hey, did you see this game? Did you see this game? Did you see this game? Did you stay up late to watch this game? But the Bills is different because I'm a Bills fan, but I'm not a fan of the NFL. I'm just a Bills fan. I'm watch the Bills game. It is what it is. Don't talk to me till Wednesday after a loss. Even if you're a Bills fan. As a matter of fact, I hate talking to Bills fans about the NFL. I hate talking to anybody of a fan base who can't think rationally. I just do. It is what it is. Lane Kiffin's hilarious NFL comparison for Zach Calzada. Now, we know that this is the last year for all of the COVID year, because you got players like Jalen Daniels. There's a few other players out there that are like the Van Wilders of college football. And they've been in school for a very long time, whether it's their redshirt year, a medical injury year, a COVID year, they're supersized as it pertains to the college football world. But Kentucky quarterback Zach Calzada, didn't line it up against Toledo, but Lane Kiffin isn't buying the box score. He compares Zach Calzada's long career and arm talent to having a Joe Flacco in college football. Bro, Lane Kiffin, never stop, bro. Please never stop. He compares Zach Calzada to Joe Flacco, bro. That's crazy because, when you think of the NFL, you think of players who've been playing a really long time. Like, you sit back, you say, wow, that Joe Flacco's been playing for a very long time. I remember the Super Bowl run that they went on, and that, and that was like in 2012, bro. So Zach Calzada being called Joe Flacco is just gold, and that's why Lane Kiffin will always be gold for me, and that's why he'll always be one of my favorite coaches. And I want a natty for him so badly, bro. I think that's why I was so high on Ole Miss last year, because I really want a natty for Lane Kiffin, because he must be protected. He really must be, because dude is just flat out hilarious, bro. Calling Zach Calzada Joe Flacco. He was complimenting him, but it was like an underhanded sneak diss. You ever had somebody compliment you and you don't know how to take it? Me, Moon, and his old lady was having this conversation when I was down in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, you look nice today. Like, well, I look crazy every other day. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Some people don't know how to say compliments, and I don't like side-handed compliments or side-handed. Like, people act like they so concerned. Oh, you doing this? You did this by accident, right? Like, bro, shut up, bro. Leave me alone. Let me be great. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like he complimented them and sneak dissed them at the same time. And I'd rather you just diss me. You don't even got to sneak diss me. Just go ahead and diss me, right? You know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel, to be honest with you. Lou Holtz must be protected at all costs. And he rekindles his feud with Ryan Day. You guys remember a couple of years ago, when he called them soft, and then we all remember Ryan Day, getting a little bit emotional, after a big win versus Notre Dame. And, he was getting clowned by the media after that week, too. That hilarious. Well, Lou Holtz is doubling down on what he said. He said Ohio State is not a great football team. Even after beating Texas, he pointed to, being outgained and said he still has doubts about the Buckeyes. And Ryan Day may have thought this feud was over, but it ain't over at all. Lou Holtz, bro. Dude. How old is Lou Holtz now? Lou Holtz got to be almost 90, bro. Or if not almost 90s, late 80s or, early 90s. I remember Lou Holtz when he was coaching at Notre Dame, dog. But it's crazy what Lou Holtz, I don't know, like maybe, Ryan Day I don't know, like Lou Holtz just got beef with Ryan Day. I don't know how far this stems back. He called the team soft, and then Ryan Day responded after the game, and then now Lou Holtz is picking at them again. Yo, they just beat the number one team. Can they live, Lou Holtz? Lou Holtz say, nah. I watched that game, and I wasn't overly impressed. Newsflash, I was really impressed with their defense. I came out of that game most impressed with Matt Patricia, but I wasn't overly impressed offensively, though. I think Hartline will figure it out. I think Steve Sarkisian will figure it out, but I wasn't overly impressed with either team. There's few games I left away from, like, impressed week one. Because it's week one. I'm understanding that it's week one, right? But yeah, and a lot of these teams will figure it out. But yeah, there was a lot of teams I weren't overly impressed with. I wasn't overly impressed with Baylor after that week one game. Wasn't overly impressed with Auburn. Even though they won, there were some things that I saw. I said, later on, this thing may come back to get you. What other teams? Colorado get 3 turnovers in like the first quarter, forced, and they lost the game. Wasn't overly impressed. Georgia Tech won. I wasn't overly impressed. Nebraska won. I wasn't overly impressed. But it's week one. You know what I'm saying? So the mental mistakes are going to be there. We're seeing a lot of flags throughout week one and week 0, and I get it. But like I said, it's just a lot of teams I wasn't overly impressed with. And don't take it the wrong way. It just is what it is. Not saying that I wasn't impressed. I wasn't like, wow, this team's going to win a national championship. That's not where I'm at. I'm a rational thinker. Let me just see some more college football games, and we'll get there, right? We talked about this in the opener. Kirk Ferentz, chasing Big Ten history, man. One win away from passing Woody Hayes. Kirk Ferentz is about to become Big Ten's all-time winningest coach, the Hawkeyes legend. His career didn't start great at all. Make no mistake about it. But, he was able to buy in, with the boosters, the donors, and everybody that's been there. He even had to deal with them forcing his son no longer being able to be the offensive coordinator there. I do like Tim Lester as their offensive coordinator. I know I spoke with D now. Like I told you, when somebody's a fan of a team, they're officially my insider for a team. So if it's Oklahoma related, I'm going to Boomer. If it's anything in Atlanta related, I'm going to Moon. If it's anything BC related, I'm going to Nino. And, he came after the first week game, and D now said he wasn't impressed with Iowa. But D-Now's one of those people who's going to be really hard on his teams. And it's the same thing when I think Illinois football. I'll be like, Jalen, give me somebody I should be watching this week. Speaking of Jalen, College Football Showdown will be live 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central today doing the vertical style. The last vertical episode we did really well. We're going to do another vertical style. I think that's the future for this form of content. People would rather see it the way that their phone works instead of having to turn their phone sideways. So, yeah, we are doing an episode today. We're previewing 3 big games this week. We're going to do Duke and Illinois, of course, Jalen being an Illinois fan. We're also going to do the Cy-Hawk game, which I'm excited to talk about. I actually wanted to cover that on here, but since we're going to do that there, I'm not going to double up. And then we're also going to do the big game this week, Michigan at Oklahoma. So that's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be on CFB Nation's Twitter. I'm going to put it on my Twitter as well, and it'll be on CFB Nation's YouTube. So make sure y'all check that out, College Football Showdown. I truly enjoy that show. I think we just hit our 100th episode, and 100th episode for us always means syndication, having a TV background that I do. But, yeah, super excited for that show today, and it was my fault. I dropped the ball last week because I didn't know if I was traveling or not. And I also have an idea what game I'm going to. I still haven't I have an idea, but I haven't decided because I have been credentialed for quite a few games. But I might be going to Chicago. I'll just say that. Or I might be staying home and going to College Park. So we'll figure that out a little bit later. But let's move on to our next segment. Alrighty, so we have Governor reacts here. We got CFB Sports top 25 quarterbacks. And I always like reacting to these type of lists because I like to react to see who's overreacting. And you guys know, if you've been watching this show for a while, I'm always going to be honest in my opinion. I'm always going to hold you, the viewer, accountable because you are a 1%er. I'm going to hold myself accountable because me as the guy that's speaking to you, I'm a 1%er as well. And I really study this game. And when I'm wrong about something, trust me, nobody's going to hold me more accountable than me. I already knew. I said it in our CFB Nation group chat. Oh, yeah, Monday is Crow Monday. And that's why I, gave myself hold this L on Tuesday's episode, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I need to put that segment on Twitter. I will do that after I finish streaming today, probably after the college football showdown stream, which I'm really excited about. So coming in at number 1 is Josh Hoover. Josh Hoover's a guy who's extremely talented. I had him in my top 10 quarterback list. A lot of people did not have Josh Hoover in their top 10 quarterback list. I'm just going to keep it real. He was up there for me. I had a lot of Big 12 quarterbacks on there. Sam Levitt was on there. Sawyer Robinson was on there. I think I had him highest of all of the Big 12 quarterbacks on my list. Baylor Moore made the list as well. So these are the times where I started to say, hey, I've been telling you guys this all offseason. Now, should he be at 1? Now, I don't have much backstory to what CBS Sports is going to do. It's just a ranking based on hey, after week 1, this is who played the best, or is this like who we think the best quarterbacks are based on week 1 play and based on moving forward? So I don't have the criteria fully, and that my apologies on that. But yeah, he lighted up. And I think a lot of people, who follow Bill Belichick believe, arguably one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, if not the greatest. They looked at his resume and thought, hey, that was going to automatically translate at the collegiate level. There are some nuances. I continue to say that. I continue to use that verbiage as well. There are some nuances to college football. It's just different. I speak to you all about the hashes. People don't understand how different that is until you have to cover it. Run your cover 3 coverage, right? Run it against a flood concept, and they're on the short side of the field, running into a wide side of the field, and see how much area you got to cover as a defensive back. See how much area you got to cover. There are some nuances. So a lot of us expected this year, not saying that Bill Belichick isn't going to figure it out. He's a football guy, so he'll figure out the nuances. But TCU felt disrespected. They really felt disrespected. And it's great that, we had, and I probably should have put my Bud Clark interview up here as the overview video, but we talk about offenses, but the fact that we interviewed Josh Hoover, he really stood out to me with how well he was as it pertains to being media trained. Outstanding media trained. Bud Clark, he's got this infectious energy. The scouts were out looking at Bud Clark. He didn't disappoint either. He had a pick 6 that game against North Carolina, but Josh Hoover, very effective. What he had, 284 yards, 2 tutties, 75% completion percentage. I had an overall command of the offense. He's poised. And I like him. Like I said, I wish I had more merit for this list. I think 1 is a bit high, even though I did have Josh Hoover in my top 10 quarterbacks, and he wasn't 10. I believe he's around 7 or 8. Alrighty. Garrett Nussmeier coming in at 2. Veteran leadership was on display. He's wearing the historic number 18. He finished, 28 of 38, 232 yards and a touchdown. And in a game that I think that LSU needed to boost the morale down there in Baton Rouge, to boost the morale of the team, and also to boost the morale of Brian Kelly. And I think sometimes we forget these coaches need to boost the morale as well. So I have no beef with that. Garrett Nussmeier was my Heisman pick, and for now he is my Heisman pick, even though there's somebody gaining steam on him. And I'm almost ready to switch, but I'm not going to switch too soon. It's too early. Drew Aller, really good game, 22 of 26, 217 yards, 1 TD. No mistakes, and they cruised over Nevada this past weekend. They look really good. I like what I seen out of the offense. Was it uber explosive? In instance, yes. Overly explosive? No, absolutely not. But I like what I seen out of that offense. Just trust. All I ask for James Franklin and Andy Kotelnicki to do this season is trust Drew Aller. This kid is a big game quarterback. He's a big-time quarterback. I really believe in Drew Aller, and I believe in his abilities. And I believe he can soar up the draft boards as well with an impressive season this year. Trust him. We know you got an outstanding defense. We know you got Jim Knowles calling your defense. We know you got one of the best home field advantages in all of the sport. And not even just at the collegiate level, NFL level, wherever they play football football Americano or football. I don't care where it is. They got one of the best, home field advantages out there. So trust Drew Aller. That's all I ask. Be confident. When it's time to go for it on fourth, go for it on fourth. Tommy Castellanos comes in at number 4. I was very critical of Thomas Castellanos. And shout out to my dog, Dante from East Coast Gridiron. I seen he did an apology. He said we all owe Tommy an apology. And I apologize to him already. And Dante's just one of those guys, man, in this industry I really respect. And I respect him for a myriad of reasons. One, because he's always working. That first and foremost. I see, if you're working, I see you. Trust it. Because I stay on Twitter. I've almost got my algorithm configured after I muted the words I needed to mute. I almost got it configured to where it's showing me college football pretty much like 93% of the time. So if you're working, I see that you're working. Dante's one of these guys that's working. He was at a myriad of camps. He was that's NFL camps. He's at a myriad of college. I'm sorry. He was at a myriad of camps. He went to a couple of preseason games. He's always putting out content. His content always looks good, too. I love the way that his templates look for his shows. It's always really professional. His rundowns look really good. He's got a high-quality camera. Like, dude just puts in the work. And he's a Florida State fan, and he was critical of Tommy Castellanos as well. So, like I said, if you're working, I see you. Best believe that. And Dante and East Coast Gridiron is working. We're supposed to be doing a week where we do like a mesh week. I think we was going to call it, I forgot exactly what we was going to call it, but they will appear on our content. We will appear on their content. So I do got to get in contact with my dog, East Coast Gridiron. My dogs, rather, East Coast Gridiron, because they all show a lot of love over there. And Dante, you know, he's from the DMV, man. So that's my dog for sure. But yeah, Thomas Castellanos, man, you know, didn't do a lot through the air, but he did enough. He backed up his words, had an impressive 9-yard touchdown run against Bama. And he said they're not the same without saying. Sorry, I didn't believe you, Tommy. I ain't going to lie. My apologies. I apologize to you again. But now I want to see what now. You beat Florida. You beat Alabama, right? You know, people are like, okay, you guys not the 2-10 Florida State, but what are you? Now, how do we properly calibrate you now? Where do you fit in this ACC puzzle now? Clemson did lose this past weekend. You know, where are you at in there right now? Even after the Alabama win, you ask me, based on what I seen last year and what, you know, this is a what have you done for me lately? They were physical at the point of attack, 100% physical at the point of attack, and that's fantastic, and that's what I like to see. But where do they place in the hierarchy of the ACC is the next question I want to ask. Are they automatically tier 1 with Clemson, right? Or do they fall in that bubble where there's a bunch of teams, you know, fighting for, you know, tier 2, whether it's Louisville, whether it's Miami, who looked impressive this past weekend, Florida State, who looked impressive, Duke, where do they fit? SMU, you know, they did go 8-0 in the conference this past year, you know, a season ago. I do expect a sophomore slump for their team. I think people will start to figure out what they're doing with their systems and that tempo. The tempo is just hard to face. So where do Florida State now? What now? You know what I'm saying? What happens now? And that's my question for Florida State. You know, when we see a couple games where we like, all right, you guys are really good versus Alabama, but what is this now? Or will we say, okay, this team is for real and this team can win the ACC. What now for Florida State is my next question. Julian Sand coming in at number 5. Wasn't overly impressed with him. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you that the 40-yard strike to Carnell Tate was beautiful. He did enough to win the game. That's what's most important. Also, his receivers didn't do him a favor either. The great Jeremiah Smith did have a few drops that game. I don't know if it was jitters or what. So, like I said, he did enough to win the game. It was a big game to win. He did enough to win the game, but he's at 5. I get it. Ohio State had a big win. You know, and as a quarterback, when your team wins in big games, a lot of that credit comes to you, just like if it's the adverse, like we seeing what is happening right now with Ty Simpson, right? So, good question. Number 6, Lenore Sellers. Remember I said there's one other guy, like, who's almost making me switch my Heisman pick. It's too early in the season for me to, you know, switch my Heisman pick. And I'm going to stick with Garrett Nussmeier. But Lenore Sellers, it's different when I try to explain to people this. There's levels to watching college football. You got those who get to watch it on TV. That's a great viewing experience. You're in the comfort of your home. You can order whatever food you want to eat. You can eat good, drink you some alcohol. You can have you a little barbecue out back. Whatever you want to do, bro, you can do it in your home. Talk college football, have people over. You guys have a jolly old time. But you also got the way, you know, of watching it in a press box. That's a really good way. You're talking to the movers and shakers in the sport. You can work on your article and set your article up while you're up there. You can also look at other games on your phone while you're up there. You're going to eat good, too. That's a great viewing experience. And then you got you, the fan, who is in the stadium. You know, I was at the game this past weekend for the Aflac Kickoff Challenge. You're hearing game. You already know what's after that. And you got that experience. And that experience is a phenomenal one. Then you got what I get to do. and that's be there on the sidelines watching the game. And I like to call it the 2K view. That's my favorite way to look at a football game, whether it's, the team moving opposite or the team moving towards us. And when you see this kid, Lenore Sellers, those Cam Newton comps, I don't like lazy comps, but that's a damn good one. This kid can be every bit of Cam Newton. And, opened the game with a 15-yard TD. Then he sealed the deal 2 different times with a 64-yard bomb to Nick Harbor. And then he had another one where he just refused to go down and picked up the first down. So this kid, Lenore Sellers, is real deal. It really is. And seeing him in person is just different. That team is different overall. Jackson Arnold, outstanding game last week. He's still running wild in Waco. This just in. Jackson Arnold still running wild in Waco. I still can't believe the lack of adjustments by David Aranda and company. And then guess who's coming to town? Kevin Jennings. Right, he ain't coming to Waco. Y'all going to where he at? In Dallas. That's scary. They threw for 108 yards and physically beat you down. Sawyer Robinson and Jake Spavital figured it out. They were moving the ball on Auburn. That's why I said, when I say I'm not overly impressed with teams, that's what I mean. Like, they moved the ball up and down the field on Auburn. No issue. Auburn did stuff to run other than a 50-yard run that was called back. They moved the ball up and down the field. They just didn't score on pivotal opportunities, and Michael Trigg was dropping passes, but he made it up for it late in the game. Sawyer Robinson was dealing in that game. I liked a lot of what I seen from Sawyer Robinson. So when I had him at number 5 quarterback, I'm thinking, some people are like, why does Governor have him so high? I see him dealing and they lose. It's heartbreaking to see. But I think they make a statement this week. We're going to talk more about that later. Haynes King, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, I was a little disappointed with Georgia Tech because I looked at Georgia Tech's physicality and I said, no way, this is a close game. I said they were going to go out there and Boulder and outmuscle them. And at points, they did do that. But at points, I don't know. I felt like Colorado had the edge. It's just that Caden Salter was there being somebody who he isn't. Like, take off and run the ball, bro. It's that simple. Coming in number 9, Moneyline Mateer. I don't know who coined the name, but I heard Boomer say it first, so I'm saying he coined it even if he didn't coin it. So my boy Moneyline Mateer, 392 passing yards, 4 total TDs, broke a OU record, which is crazy when you think about the illustrious history of quarterbacks that they have had at that great institution of higher learning in Norman, Oklahoma. So yeah, John Mateer, Moneyline Mateer, he deserves to be up here. Devin Dampier, bro. There was a guy who I enjoyed watching crushing the dreams of a take that I had. Yo, Devin Dampier was impressive. I love those West Coast late night games because I'm always watching. This past weekend, I happened to be home. I had an early morning flight that, to go to Atlanta to go to the Aflac kickoff. So I'm on the computer, setting things up, setting up my show for the following day, which didn't even happen because I had so much to do on Monday. And then also, making sure Moon was good on the article front because he does an outstanding job with, DCFBNation.com. I'm not sure there's a person in an independent entity that does more work than this kid does. I really don't. I doubt it. Go look at the CFBNation.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. Coming in number 11, the aforementioned Sawyer Robinson. Solid outing, man. They lost, but he was dealing. Like I said, I was very impressed with a lot of his throws. He didn't miss too many people on clutch situations like the fourth, 4 for 1, 4 for 2, threw a 33-yard, even though he's wide open, to Kobe Prentice. There were just some throws that he make. I'm like, NFL scouts are still sleeping on Sawyer Robinson, and I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Jaden Daniels coming in number 12. Hey, man, Kansas 2-0. Haven't really had a true test yet, but still they're 2-0, winning the games that they need to win. Can he stay healthy? That's my question for Jalen Daniels. So DeMond Williams, Washington. I happen to have a dynasty that I won a championship in. I told you guys about that. It's a huge dynasty, probably like 26 teams in it. And I have Oklahoma, and knew I was going to lose Moneyline Mateer after the year he had, my first season there. So I needed to get quarterbacks. So you're in the portal, and the quarterbacks that are there, everybody's trying to get Arch, everybody's trying to get other people. I'm like, let me get system guys. So Devin Dampier was there. I tried to get him. I tried to get DeMond Williams. I got both of them. So now I think I'm Steve Spurrier because both of them are get playing time. Like, it's like Doug Johnson and Jesse Palmer all over again down in Gainesville. And that's what we have in Norman right now. So, yes, I'm in year 2. We're number 17 in the country. I do have a loss to the guy that I beat in the national championship a season ago because he was whining about my system. But we're going to get him again, and then y'all going to see me holding up 2 of these. And I might retire after that because 2K is out now. Diego Pavia coming in at number 14 with Vandy. I like Diego Pavia. He's another guy this offseason who was talking a lot, but I feel like he has the ability to back it up. Huge fan of Diego, and I'm cool with him being on this list. Jada Maavia, I'm sorry, I always say his name wrong. from USC. They really put up some points this weekend. Lincoln Riley's that air raid. When I think of air raid, they were lighting it up this past weekend. And USC is a team a lot of people are sleeping on. And I got to give my boy Moon a shout out here again because he hasn't been sleeping on him, and nor has he been sleeping on Utah either. So I like that. Carson Beck was dealing this weekend, bro. I like what I seen. It's one of those games where, when C.J. Carter got hot and, Notre Dame had some opportunities to take over that game, Carson Beck wouldn't allow it. So I like that he's on this list. DJ Lagway. I've seen a lot of interesting tweets about DJ Lagway. I think I said that yesterday, too. I'm going to keep him to myself, but it's something I'm going to back pocket. But, I like this Florida team. They got a true test this upcoming weekend. They really do. With I think they play South Florida this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's what it is. Sam Leavitt, Arizona State. They look pretty good. Upset alert. This is my first upset alert of the season. Sam Leavitt, Arizona State, travels to Starkville to play who, Governor? They travel to Starkville to play Mississippi State. And I'm not saying Arizona State won't win a game, but what I'm officially saying is Arizona State is on upset alert. Arizona State is officially on upset alert. This team from Starkville got something to prove. And Blake Shapen is back. Blake Shapen is healthy. Blake Shapen, even though they were losing, started the season off really well last year before he was injured. I'm putting Arizona State officially on upset alert. And if this game does happen the way that I think it may happen, and Mississippi State win this game, you will see this clip. And you will see it with Tyler Creator looking crazy at y'all before I play this clip. I promise you. Byron Brown, USF. It's always interesting watching a quarterback come in back from injury because you have a couple different types of quarterbacks when they come back from injury. You got those who just want to go out there and prove to everybody that, hey, I'm back. I'm going to make these layered throws. You're going to see these bucket throws. You're going to see me get in my bag, right? And you also got those ones like, yo, I'm just getting back off an injury. Don't touch me. Like what Thomas Castellano say, I don't want to be touched. And then you got those ones who want to be a pinball. Like, I'm back. I'm 100% healthy, and I'm going to show you I'm healthy. And that's what we seen with Byron Brown and company. And the thing is, they've had some time to prepare for this game. They're going to end up having, I always like to say 10 days because the NFL, 9 days to prepare for this game, but it was the physicality he brought. He wanted to run people over every time he carried the ball. He wasn't looking to slide, bro. Oh, excuse me. And he's going to run him over. That's exactly how it was. Jake Ratzlaff versus that Tulane Northwestern game was a game that I had on my screen because, you guys, I think I've told you guys before, I got a dual monitor set up here. Got a nice screen TV there. So a lot of times, if I am home on Saturdays, I got my TV playing there. Got both of these monitors with games on. I got a game on my phone. Or one of the screens with a game on. The other screen I'm doing articles with. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I did watch a good portion of the Tulane and Northwestern game. Their defense played outstanding. Preston Stone looked remedial. And that's a guy that I've always believed in. Rocco Beck, Iowa State. There's a lot of people talking about Rocco Beck. Rocco Beck was also on my top. You guys going to think I'm a Big 12 homer at this point, but Rocco Beck was also on my top 10 quarterbacks. I knew that Big 12 had a plethora of quarterbacks. There's no conference in this country right now that has deeper quarterbacks than the Big 12. Not the SEC, daggone sure not the Big 10, not the ACC. And the ACC historically has put together really good quarterback groups, but the Big 12 quarterback grouping is phenomenal. The worst quarterback in the Big 12 right now will compete for middle of the road in any other conference. I promise you. That's how good the quarterbacks are in the Big 12. Darian Mensah, Duke, they struggled a little bit in the first half versus Elon, but I think that was by design. I think, they wanted to run a vanilla offense. They knew Big Bad Illinois coming into town next week. So it is what it is. We got Avery Johnson. I'm not going to say too much about Kansas State because of my disappointment in Kansas State. Did Avery Johnson make the plays he needed to make in order to win a game? Yeah, they did. Did they play pretty decent versus Iowa State? Yeah, they did. They lost, though. But, it's more to be seen. Bryce Underwood played outstanding, and then closing out the top 25 is Baron Morton. Where's Luke Altmaier? Why do y'all do this to Luke Altmaier? I need answers. Why is Luke Altmaier so disrespected? That's not a rhetorical question. I'm genuinely asking people, why is he so disrespected? Because it just doesn't make sense. It will never make sense in my mind. I can't quantize it in my mind that this guy's so disrespected. A guy that won so many games late in games last year in Champaign. I just don't understand it. I guess I never will. So that's CBS Sports top 25 quarterbacks. Overall, not bad. I do like the list. Like I just told you guys, Luke Altmaier will be up here for me in my top 25. I love the fact that Byron Brown was on this list as well. Is there anybody else that's not here that I would have on this list? It's not bad overall. I think I covered all of my bases on here. Let's move on to our next segment, Governor ruling. Alrighty, so we're going to look at this here AP poll, top 25. And, of course, I'm going to always do the CFB Nation poll first. And I did that yesterday, and I knew that I would save the AP poll, top 25, for today. So let's look at their top 25 and see how you guys feel about it. Coming in at number 25, Utah. Let's start with other teams receiving votes. We got BYU. Auburn is on the cusp of being in the top 25. Georgia Tech, USC, Louisville, TCU, Missouri, South Florida, Tulane, Nebraska, Kansas State, Duke, JMU, Liberty, UNLV, Baylor, Memphis, Navy, Pittsburgh, and Virginia are the teams that are the other teams receiving votes. And the top 25 are Utah, Texas Tech, Indiana, who I wasn't impressed with, Tennessee coming in at number 22, who I was extremely impressed with. Alabama is free falling, brother. 21 at 20, Ole Miss. 19, Texas A&M. 18, Oklahoma. I don't believe Oklahoma was there in their inaugural top 25. They was in CFB Nation's inaugural top 25. Message. Number 17, SMU. 16, Iowa State. 15, Michigan. 14, or maybe that was a coach's poll. No, I don't think it was in either top 25, to be honest with you. 16, Iowa State, 15, Michigan, 14, Florida State. Now, this is where I start to have beef with the AP poll. 2022, y'all know where I'm going back to. Florida beat Utah. They went from not ranked to 12. Florida State, damn good victory versus Alabama. But let the cards play out a little bit. Just let them play out. I ain't saying they're not a top 25 team after the victory. You have to put them there, right? 14, though? They go from not ranked to 14. Weren't they even in the other teams mentioned one before? And guess who's about to find out and pull it up? I am. Give me 1 second. I think this is it right here. It is. Give me 1 second. So, y'all gonna have to bear with me. So I'm about to pull up this old AP top 25 poll, then I put the new one back in here. Was that on 8/12, I think? Let's go back to August 12th. Here we go. All right. So this is the old AP poll top 25. I'm not saying Oklahoma was in there. I guess that was a coach's poll that Oklahoma was in there. That I confused it with. Alrighty. So let's see in other teams mentioned. I'll say so Florida State was in the other teams receiving votes. They were there. My apologies. They were deep down there, but, I guess they did receive votes, but to go from, barely receiving votes to 14, in my opinion, is a little high. That's a bit much in my opinion. It really is. So, but let me get this other one back up. AP poll. There we go. I probably got to readjust the size again. Yep. You guys will see this live. All right. So, Florida State at 14. Let me know in the comment section how you guys feeling about that. I think, personally, it's a little too high. Not to make their way in there. You want to take them to not ranked to 20 or, 19, but 14 is high. I'm sorry, 14 is high. And I know in Tallahassee, they're not going to like that, but that's high for me. That's a little too high. All right, coming in at 13, Florida. 12, Arizona State. 11, Illinois. 10, South Carolina. 9, Notre Dame. Even though they lost, they still get them respect. They didn't go free-falling like Alabama. Clemson, same thing. Even though they lost, they didn't go free-falling like Alabama. Texas at 7, same thing. Even though they lost, didn't go free-falling. Number 6, Oregon. Number 5, Miami. Number 4, Georgia. Number 3, LSU. 2, Penn State. 1, Ohio State. And that rounds out their top 25. Overall, I don't got a lot of beef with it. I'm glad that I'm super, super excited, with Utah being in the top 25. I think they are deserving to be in the top 25. But let's look at some of these teams, see what they did last week and who they played this week. Utah coming in at number 25. I told you guys it was pure domination over UCLA. They got Cal Poly next. Then we got Texas Tech. They beat the crap out of Abilene Christian. Haven't heard an injury update on Baron Morton, but I think he'll be okay to play their next week game versus Kent State, but they'll handle business as usual. So they probably won't have him out there long. Indiana, I told you guys I wasn't overly impressed with what I seen out of Indiana. I believe they play Kennesaw State next, and Kirk Ferentz told you guys they're going to play an SEC schedule, as it pertains to non-con. Tennessee beat Syracuse, and it wasn't that they beat Syracuse. It was the way they beat Syracuse. Joey Aguilar looked really comfortable in Joey Hazel's system. I think that took me back a little bit. I was definitely thoroughly surprised how comfortable he looked in that system, because I wasn't sure, because he got there extremely late, and the fact that they was able to put up the amount of points they put up. Now defense, I do have some concerns, but it is what it is. Alabama, what are you going to do? You guys got Monroe, and I'm sure you guys are trying to beat them 70-0 to silence the critics, but people are still going to be mad. It's still going to be a hangover for a little while. You want people to not have a hangover after your bye week 4 to go beat Georgia, week 5. I think people will, say, okay, Cade and DeBoer, you know what you're doing. But you guys got a lot of tough games coming up. In SEC, you're supposed to win your non-con games, right? Win your non-con games in this current setup, which is an 8-game conference schedule. You go 4-0, right? You say, hey, if I'm a lower level tiered team in SEC, hey, I go 2-6, I'm bowl eligible. If you're a middle of the road team, say, hey, if I go 4-4, right, plus my 4 non-con games, that's going to take me to 8-4. If you're an elite team, you say, hey, we know in this conference we're going to go at least 6-2. I'm with my 4, you know what I'm saying? Now you're 10-2. That's the way that it works, because of the way that you schedule your non-conference games in SEC with the current structures. Next year's structure is going to make it increasingly difficult, and you may see an 8-4 team possibly make the college football playoff. I don't think it'll be a part of the 12 team, but maybe like a 14 or 16, whatever they decide that they're going to go to. It'll be interesting. Ole Miss, they were really impressive. I mean, really impressive against Georgia State. They put up a lot of points, and it'd be interesting to see what they look like this week versus Kentucky, especially with Lane Kiffin, some of the bulletin board material he might have gave Zach Calzada. But it'll be exciting to see, man. I like what Ole Miss is doing. It was a struggle for me to calibrate this team this year, especially because I was so high on them this year. But, at the end of the day, the games will be played, and you'll start figuring out calibration. But I do like them at 20. Texas A&M, they got a big game this week versus Notre Dame. Really big game this week versus Notre Dame. And I'm interested to see, how these teams act. Notre Dame needs this game. And I hate to say that so early in the season, but they aren't in the conference, right? And Notre Dame plays, even though it's an independent schedule, they play a pretty tough schedule because they have, game agreements, with a good, portion of teams. If Notre Dame starts this season 0-2, they're going to be in some trouble. And them college football playoff hopes, Memphis bleak. That's what their playoff hopes are going to be. So they got a really important game. There's 2 teams, I think, right now. There are must-win situations. There's teams that need to win, but they're not in must-win because they play easier games. But Notre Dame needs to win this week. Baylor needs to win this week. Those are 2 teams I feel like, hey, you guys have to win this week. Iowa State coming in at number 16. We got the Cy Hall game this week. We saw Iowa State play, week 0 in Dublin. This Cy Hall game is going to be impressive. It's going to be a really good game, arguably the best game of the week. We'll have to see. Michigan, we'll get a good test of Bryce Underwood and where he's at in his development there in Ann Arbor. They do play Oklahoma next. I think that game has top billing this week. I know College Game Day is there and a host of other, big-time college football personalities will be going to that game as well. Like I said, it's going to be a good game. What we get from Florida this upcoming week? Are you overly impressed with the game that they've had this past week? These are the questions I have to ask. Arizona State, I told you, Arizona State's officially on upset alert. And I know a lot of people are like, you're bugging. This Louisville team, this Mississippi State team don't have enough, right? Wait one goddamn minute. Yo, did the AP poll not have Louisville in the top 25? That's bad. Louisville is in the top 25 team. AP poll, I guess y'all don't know they play 8 home games this year. The only 4 games that they play on the road are games that they're forced to play on the road by ACC. Not a top 25 team. That's crazy. I just peeped that. I had to look at the graphic again That's wild. That's 100% wild. But like I said, overall, not too shabby. Couple things I hate. I hate Florida State being that high, even after a really good win. I hate that Louisville isn't in the top 25. But there's arguments for the teams that are in over them. I just think that there's a team there at 23. That will be my case for them to be in the top 25 over that team at 23. But that's the AP poll. Let's get into this next segment, Around the Nation. All right, so we got a game preview, an Old Southwest Classic. These are games that I get really excited about. Like, my college football season won't feel the same this year without Bedlam, but I think with the new SEC format, Bedlam will be figured out, and I think every year, Oklahoma's PowerCon game will be against Oklahoma State to continue Bedlam. I truly do believe that, but there's certain games that you see, it has a little bit of, like, elegance to it, a little bit of mystique about it, and this Baylor versus SMU game has all of those adjectives that I just mentioned. These games take a lot of people back to when these teams used to play all the time, and I think Baylor is on a crazy winning streak right now, from 1989 to 2016, but when you think about it, you think about, okay, that's the time that SMU was under the death penalty. That was the time that, Baylor knew they was going to put hands and feet on them. But times have changed a lot since 2016. SMU has arrived. They really have arrived. Rhett Lashley is doing an outstanding job. And I know in SEC country they're not fans of Rhett Lashley because of, some of the opinions he has about the SEC. But at the end of the day, did he lie? Did he say anything that wasn't factual? I understand you getting upset because somebody is coming at you, right? And, of course, somebody coming at me or my family, they say something crazy, I'm going to get mad. Right? And I'm going to handle business and I'm going to act accordingly. But in the end, I will think about it like, are they right? Are they correct about this? Should I be analyzing this differently? And I think that's where I'm at. So Baylor, SMU, is a classic game. Southwest Conference, man. Let's get into it. So we heading to Dallas, Old Southwest matchup, Baylor versus SMU. This is the 83rd meeting all time, but the first in nearly a decade, and Baylor has won 13 straight. That's crazy, right? But the death penalty got everything to do with that. But I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. This game is a must-win game for Baylor. Baylor don't win this game. Don't say it. Don't say it, Governor. I might be out. But I ain't going to say it just yet, right? But this is a must-win game for Baylor. I have to state that. I can't state it enough that this is a must-win for Baylor. Last week versus Auburn, their defense was exposed. Their coaching staff was exposed. The inability to make adjustments. I understand coming into this game, these receivers are legit. Alrighty. But after, I had them saying, all right, they're winning this game, but it's the physicality. It's us not winning a war of attrition on line of scrimmage. It's them having the ability to run the ball and a quarterback being essentially another runner because of how dynamic Jackson Arnold was in that game. But your inability to make adjustments is what worries me. It's okay if you have a bad half, right? Schematically, it's okay if you have a bad half. And I mean, when you're keeping the game close, but hey, you had a bad half. We'll accept that. Okay. It's all right. You don't got to explain it. We will accept that. But it's an entire different thing when you see what's going on and you don't make adjustments to it. That's when I have to question you. I have to question your staff, right? And I also, in a way, have to question the grit of the players too. So that's why I'm deeming this game a must-win game for Baylor. I think so. I think they need to do it. This is in Jackson Arnold still running wild in Waco. And Dave Aranda's unit looked scared of Auburn's wideouts. They really did. But refusing to add an additional player to the box is what confused me most. This has to change. Offensively, I think Jake Spavital's scheme, they actually moved the ball up and down the field on Auburn, right? And they did a great job at moving the ball on Auburn. And that's why I say, hey, yes, Auburn won a game, but I'm not overly impressed. Because I'm not. That Baylor was able to move the ball up and down the field. They didn't score. They got a field goal one possession. There was another possession. It ended on fourth down. There was another possession. They tried to go for it on fourth down. They didn't put points. They moved the ball up and down the field on Auburn. I'm telling you. So I know Auburn fans excited because there was a lot of us that saying, hey, we don't know how Auburn going to be able to handle Baylor. Yes, you guys have a reason to be excited. You won. But there's a reason to also look at this team and analyze this team and say, hey, there's some things I'm uncomfortable with. Right? But Baylor has to finish drives this game against SMU. They need to start fast. They need to finish drive. And they need to win up front. They need to win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. They really do. The run game never truly, established a rhythm. And, of course, there was that 50-yard run by Bryson Washington that was called back. Who agreed to SEC refs ref in this game? Typically, when you get a cross-conference game like that, you ask a neighboring conference, hey, can you send your refs down to ref this game? Why y'all allow the SEC to do it? And it was in Waco. I'm just saying. It was a couple calls that game. I ain't saying that's why they lost. It was just a couple calls. That's all I'm going to say. And Sawyer Robertson was out there dealing, bro. Even with drops around him. Michael Trigg had a few drops. And the one thing that shocked me most about this offense, and of course, Bryson Washington was hurt. They come back in for the one play and went 50 yards and they called it back. But Josh Cameron, why wasn't he featured, Jake Spavital? This guy is dynamic. He's electric with the ball in his hands. Why weren't we getting him the ball? I think it was until late in the second quarter, third quarter, we had his first catch when he went for 27 yards, broke a couple tackles, had a spin. This kid's dynamic. If you're struggling to get him the ball because of the coverage, put him in the backfield and hand the ball off to him. Jet sweep, something, get the kid the ball because he's a dynamic runner with the ball in his hand. Why wasn't he featured? That's what I want to understand. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yes, they have a deep wide receiver core. Hawkins was able to come back. They do got Kobe Prentice. They do got Josh Cameron. They do got the kid Wilson. I like their wide receiver core. And that slide fade, Sawyer Robertson throws a beautiful slide fade. So I like a lot of what they're doing. Just feature the players that need to be featured. That's all I'm saying. That's my only complaint. It's my only gripe. Feature Josh Cameron. I need him to get the ball. So on the other side, let's talk about Lashley Mustangs. Really impressed with the Mustangs and what they were able to accomplish last year. G5 teams don't get a lot of love, and even though they're no longer a part of the G5 conferences, it was impressive the fact that they were able to go 8-0 in the ACC a season ago. I think that's really impressive. And, they are coming off of a route of East Texas A&M. This is classic Lashley offense, tempos, RPOs, and a backfield by committee. Kevin Jennings is the perfect trigger man in that system. I've said it before. I don't think there's a better guy to run that system in the country than Kevin Jennings. I just really don't. At tight end, you got R.J. Merlin, who is son of former number one pick by the Dallas Cowboys, Russell Merlin. He's a legacy kid, but I like it. He's a big play threat, vertical downfield. He's a mismatch. He always finds the way to win the contested catches. R.J. Merlin, I think he got hurt. I forgot when he got hurt last year, but I'm a huge fan of R.J. Merlin. And it was dope talking to him at ACC Media Days a season ago. So, and I like the veteran wideout that they have. And Romello Brinson, he brings a certain form of leadership. I think he can stretch the offense with Romello Brinson. And then, it's somebody who's been there, done that. He's got plenty of college football experience. That's what I like to see when I start to look at teams and I start to evaluate teams. Defensive coordinator, Scott Simons. He leads on a versatile 4-2-5. His unit is built on the pillars of adaptability because there's a myriad of looks in college football. When you look at the various schemes, and I explained to you guys before, just because somebody run a spread offense, there's so many different types of spread. Somebody can say, hey, yeah, my offense is air raid in its approach. Well, what they mean is it's air raid principles as far as the route tree, but it's a different offense, right? And I think with the type of looks and so many different looks that you get at the collegiate level, I like the fact that he's able, Scott Simons, that is able to run that versatile 4-2-5 and kind of build based on the unit that he has, the type of team he has, how well they recruited for the types of players he needs to play his scheme, and then what type of team is he facing. So I think that their ability to be a chameleon, they could be this one week and be that next week, but forever who they playing, whatever is clever. And I like that a lot about Simon's unit, right? And they play the success rate game. I love defenses who play the success rate game. They're going to force you, and they want to force you into 3rd and longs. 3rd and 6 and more, 3rd and 7 and more. They like those odds. And every defensive coordinator does. But if they're able to get you into those type situations, they're able to get you off the field and get the ball back, right? I think Alexander Kilgore is the name to watch defensively for the Mustangs. A ton of experience, already a pick 6 this season. We saw a few of those this past week, but the line says that Baylor is 2.5-point dogs. The over-under for this game is 65. I think this game's going to be fireworks. I think you're going to see a quarterback duel. I think you're going to see Sawyer Robertson dealing. I think you're going to see Kevin Jennings dealing. And I hope this game goes in Baylor direction. I really do. I'm still holding some stock, even in the Auburn loss, but I saw some positivities. If they can handle SMU's run game on the road, and when I say handle, I don't mean completely stop it. I mean contain it, be able to get them off the field, not completely lose the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. They have a chance. Baylor has to win this game, so give me Baylor. The over-under being 65 shows that they believe both of these teams are going to score. And based on what I seen last week, both of these teams are going to score. So I would take the over on that. Give me Baylor. I think Sawyer Robertson makes not just one more play than Kevin Jennings. I think he makes a few more plays than Kevin Jennings. But shout out for them scheduling this matchup. This is an old SWC matchup. I love when we get to see stuff like this. So, yeah, give me Baylor in this game. It's going to be a good one, though. Another great show in the books. Had a lot of fun on today's episode. Do not forget College Football Showdown live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know a lot of you are excited for the NFL, as you should be. I know my dad's excited. to talk to him for a while earlier, and he's talking about all the food he's going to cook and stuff like that to watch the game. And he was like, yeah, he's kind of, asking me, like, bro, I'm all in on college football. Like, I may check the box score a few times, but I'm probably not going to watch it because I got college football games to prepare for. I got to figure out where the heck I'm going this weekend. We've been invited out to quite a few schools this weekend. I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm in my G5 governor mode, to be honest with you, so I want to go to a G5 game. Actually, there's a conversation I need to have with the American, so I'm going to reach out to my contacts at the American today because there's a few things I want to do for that conference because I really love American football. And I don't know. I think Northwestern's calling my name. Even after they lost last week, I think they're calling my name. And I also am credentialed for Maryland. They play NIU this week, and I want to go see Malik. I want to go see the freshman quarterback, Malik, and I want to go see him do his thing, bro. So I think I might end up going there, but that's a Friday game. Saturday game, I have no clue where I'm going. I think I want to be in Atlanta again, so I might, Moon may fly up here, and then we may fly down to Atlanta. I want to go see Georgia State because they got embarrassed last week versus Ole Miss, so I'm not sure where I'm going, but just know that we're going somewhere. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, you all stay safe, you all stay care, and for your NFLs, NFL is back. Good for you. Stay out of our way. College football rules. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.